Hi, everybody. It's Pastor Brent coming to you again today. And today, I want to talk to you about something that's kind of very relevant to what's going on right now. In Yellowstone County, we're seeing a large uptick in the amount of COVID cases that we're having here. And so, our church leadership has decided to ask all of our volunteers and the staff is going to on Sundays to be wearing face masks. And that can be a little bit of a controversial subject for some folks. But rather than having it be a political issue, I just wanted to share with you a little bit some biblical perspective on what that might be. Not that Bible doesn't say that we have to wear face masks or don't wear face masks. It's not that clear. But it does give us some principles that we can use to make some wise decisions when it comes to doing that. And again, not that it's a mandate, but that there's an invitation for us to have a opportunity to be able to show Jesus' love to people around us. The first thing we want to talk about is that we are called to be good neighbors. We're called to love our neighbors as ourselves, in Matthew 22, verse 39 says. And so one of the ways that we can love our neighbors is by just making sure that they're all safe. And if we can do that by wearing a mask, and there's the science is emerging as to how that all works, and there's just some discrepancies in that. But if we can have an idea that this might help someone, then why not? Why not err on the side of let's be protective of people around us? And many of you are in the age group and that are needed to be protected. So if we can encourage everyone to be protective of you guys by wearing masks when they're around other people so they don't transmit that to anybody, that could be a very, very helpful thing. So just that could be a very loving thing that we can do to each other to be able to show each other that we're caring about each other and each other's well-being. The other principle that comes out of Scripture is that we are called to respect authority. In Titus 3, verse 1 says, "Remind the people to be subject to rulers and authorities, to be obedient, to be ready to do whatever is good." Our governor and our mayor they haven't mandated, but they've asked that we as the general population try to create a culture where mask wearing is a good thing, where we can be protecting each other. They seem to feel that with all the science and everything behind it, that is a good way that we can protect our communities from this disease. And so as a Christian, we are called to be respectful of our authorities. And so in honor of that, it would be a principle that we say, hey, you know what? The governor, the mayor, and our church leadership is asking us to wear masks, so maybe that might be a good idea to do as well. This mask wearing thing, however, can be a little bit divisive, and there are different people that have different ideas of what that looks like, from, hey, this is all a hoax, to, we're all going to die if we don't wear masks. And the truth is somewhere in between those two. The idea being is that we need to be kind and caring of each other, and we shouldn't judge each other because of either of our points of view, but Scripture tells us that we should maybe defer to the weaker brother. In Romans 14, verse 13, we're told, "Therefore let us stop passing judgment on one another. Instead, make up your mind not to put any stumbling block or obstacle in the way of a brother or sister." As Christians, we need to make sure that we are taking care of our either physically or other weaker brothers and sisters. So if we can do that by ensuring that other people are not harmed by our inadvertently taking something to them, then that might be a wise thing to do. And we don't want to be looking down on people either way for wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. But the idea is that we care for each other, and it seems that it would be a wise thing to be able to care for each other by making sure that we're protecting the weak people among us. And so Paul is talking about spiritually weak people here, but it applies as well to the physically weak people who need protection. And that is, as believers, that's what we're to do. We're supposed to be protecting our brothers. And so that would be a principle from Scripture that we can apply to that. The other thing is that we need to pay attention to how we look to the community. in France, where one of our missionaries came back from France, the Workmans, and they were talking about how in France, actually, the whole COVID thing started in a church because there were people there that were not paying attention to social distancing and were kind of rebelliously not doing what the government had asked them to do, and that started the epidemic there in France. And so consequently, the church in France is not very highly esteemed because they're looked down upon because they kind of started the whole thing over there. We don't want to be that institution here in the United States. We don't want to have people looking at church and saying, "Oh, look at those church people. Yeah, they can get together. They're not supposed to have to. The government says they can get together and they can meet, but if we're not doing it wisely, is that the best thing to be doing as a witness to our neighbors?" Wearing a mask is a simple way to say, "Hey, we care about everybody that's here. We want to do everything that we can do to make sure that everyone is protected." And that can be a witness to all the people around us, saying, "Hey, you know what? Those people in church care about not just themselves, but around the whole community as well." And so that can be a very God-honoring thing that we do. Now, this all can be kind of a big deal, and because masks are, quite frankly, they're not all that comfortable to wear, but they're a minor inconvenience that we can do to be able to help our neighbors. Mayor Bill Cole says this in his statement. He says, "Face coverings are a minor inconvenience that protects everyone else and ourselves. And that's why I strongly encourage everyone to wear a mask or face covering." It just seems that could be a good thing for us as people to do, to just care about other people. Even if we're not concerned for ourselves, especially the young, healthy people, they don't seem to have to be concerned for themselves so much, except for they might be a carrier to take to grandpa or grandma or someone else who's got a immune system or something that's compromised. So as believers, it seems to me that it would be a wise thing for us to just take the extra step to be careful, and when we go out and about, when we leave our homes, to go in public places, to just be wearing a mask. Even though it's an inconvenience, sometimes it's a little uncomfortable, unless you really just can't stand it, be able to go and do that so that we can be a good witness to our neighbors around us. Those are just my thoughts for the week. Hopefully that gives you just a little bit of insights into why we're doing what we're doing here, and we're asking people to be wearing masks as the leadership and as the volunteers that are here to hopefully create a culture where it's okay for people to come in, feel safe when they come to worship, because we know that sometimes singing is even worse, projecting the droplets, which is the way that the disease is spread. So if we wear masks, that mitigates a lot of that. So when we come to church, we want to make this to be a safe, healthy place for people to come and be. So thanks for listening, and hope you guys have a great week. We'll talk to you again soon.